Hi, welcome to another episode of the Caroline Glick Show and Chag Sameach. This is a holiday show. I'm taping it on the eve of Israel's Memorial Day, and it's going to run tomorrow night on the eve of Yom Ha'atzmaut. So from Yom HaZikaron, our Memorial Day for our fallen soldiers and victims of terrorism, to our the moment of our independence 75 years ago when the British mandate ended. And David Ben-Gurion, Israel's first prime minister, declared the independence of the Jewish state, the first Jewish state to arise for 1911 years. And 75 is a remarkable achievement, and I want to talk about it a little bit with you guys in this opening, and then we're going to widen it in a big way with my guest today, who is former prisoner of Zion, former Israeli government minister, former head of the Jewish Agency, Natan Sharansky. I feel really lucky to have Natan with me this week to celebrate Yom Ha'atzmaut with us here at the Caroline Glick Show, because Natan's life in many ways encompasses the miracle of the rebirth of the Jewish people in the land of Israel 75 years ago. So I feel very lucky that we were able to catch him and have this show with him. And I wanted to talk a little bit in my opening about some reflections that I've had over the past week or so, maybe lifetime or so, about the miracle of Israel and the nature of Zionism, the Jewish National Liberation Movement, and really Judaism itself. All of our history, and particularly all of the past 75 years, the Jews of Israel and the Jews of the diaspora have been veering between catastrophe and miracle. I read somewhere somebody, I wish I could quote him, and so I guess in a way I'm plagiarizing, but you could just say that I've been inspired by this concept that Israelis always feel that we've just been granted a miracle or we're on the edge of a catastrophe. And there's no middle ground, and it's true. I think that concept of fatalism, that concept of the existential nature of our existence, for lack of a less redundant term to come to mind right now, we're constantly feeling that we're at the edge of something, that our success is a miracle, and any setback that we get is a catastrophe, and there really is this sort of wild ride sense in a lot of ways to our lives as Jews here in Israel and maybe around the world. But right now we have extremes that are pulling us apart, and I talk about it every week here with you and with my guests on the Caroline Glick Show, about on the one hand, this week, right, the top story in all of the news broadcasts over the past week has been leftist activists, including bereaved families whose children have been killed in terrorist attacks or in the army in Israel's wars, saying that politicians, meaning government ministers, shouldn't come to the military cemeteries for the ceremony on Yom HaZikaron, on Memorial Day in the morning. And if they come, they're going to be protested against. So they're going to take this sacred day, this sacred national day, where the entire people of Israel bow our heads and mourn the loss of our heroes, and they're going to turn it into a political football or a political demonstration. And really, they already have, just by threatening it. There was a commercial that's been running on social media for the past several days of graves. It's like a flyover, an aerial photograph of a military cemetery, and they're co-opting the 24,000 Israeli soldiers who have been killed since the beginning of the Arab war against Israel. Even in the pre-state days, I think 24,000. And they're saying that they died for the left to succeed in its attack against the Netanyahu government and its efforts to maintain unlimited powers of the court and the legal system here in Israel, or They died for democracy, which today has been conflating with overthrowing the democratically elected government of Israel. So this is the commercial that they show the graves of the military cemetery from the side, from above, and they co-opt all of Israel's war dead for their political causes, something we've never seen before. And the constant repetition of will there be demonstrations, should government ministers come to the military cemeteries, it's already politicized this sacred day, which is a day that is a day of unity, where we all, no matter what our political positions, no matter what our religious, our religious convictions, we all go to the cemeteries, we all mourn our fallen. And then, of course, Yom Ha'atzmaut the next day, where we celebrate our freedom and our independence in the Jewish state. That's already, they've already made it clear. Like yesterday, the mayor of Tel Aviv, Ron Huldaif, who last month said that, called for bloodshed, was given a choice by the Israel police. They said, look, you guys want to have this anti-government demonstration to close down Ayalon Highway on the eve of Independence Day, and on the other hand, you want 5 blocks to the west, you want to have a big celebration and a festival with singers and live bands and all the rest of it and fireworks. We can't secure both. We don't have enough policemen to take care of both of these things, so you have to choose one. And Ron Hulda'i chose the demonstration and blocking Ayalon Highway. I mean, right? And then, you have Mikhail Milk. I don't know. I'd never heard of her, but whatever. She's a luminary on the left. She writes for Haaretz. And most important thing to know about Mikhail Milk is that she's Shimon Peres's granddaughter. So, this is like a child of privilege on steroids from an Israeli perspective. And here she is. She gave this impassioned video this week, I think like 7 minutes of pure hatred against the government and its voters, where it was just one defamation after the other against the judicial reform, saying that, this is going to put women in chains, and the ground is burning beneath our feet, and Israel has never been in greater danger. And she's all in English, and she's talking to diaspora Jewry. You must stand with us against the government. Yes, it's traditional that AIPAC and all of the American Jewish organizations have stood by the democratically elected government of Israel, but here we want you to make an exception and decry Israel's democratically elected government and stand with the people who are blocking traffic and upsetting military cemeteries and memorial events for our fallen soldiers, because we're in the right and anybody who opposes us is in the wrong. So that's, on the one hand. And then yesterday, much smaller, but still importantly, there was this Twitter post that got a lot of attention and a lot of support, which is, I think a woman wrote this post where she said that all of Israeli history books have to be rewritten, and all of the founding fathers and mothers of the state of Israel have to be exposed as the racists that they were, and all of their grandchildren, great-grandchildren have to be re-educated to understand that everybody who formed this country was a racist, and they all persecuted Sephardic Jews, Mizrahi Jews, who came in from North Africa and from the Gulf area, from the lands of Arabia, because they're all evil. And of course, we've seen and we've experienced, and still today we see gutter racism on the part of a lot of the leftist elites in Israel. It's really just been pouring out because they support, Sephardic Jews, by and large, support right-wing parties. So we've seen there's a spritzing of racism. It's true, but I mean, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? It's exactly the same as what's happening in the United States with the radical left, saying that America was born in systemic racism and America's evil, and the American founding fathers were terrible people. They were slave owners, and Thomas Jefferson and George Washington have to be decried, not celebrated, because they were evil white men, and now they're dead white men, and we hate dead white men just like we hate live white men or whatever. I mean, the hatred, like you have no appreciation for what David Ben-Gurion did, what Golda Meir did, what Levi Eshkol did, what Moshe Shertak did, what all of them did. You don't get it? Like, nothing? None of this speaks to you? You're just angry? Don't you understand? It's not just throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, why would you want to burn down the house because you're mad? And that's what we're seeing on both sides. We're seeing people on both sides saying we want to burn down the house. The ground is burning beneath our feet, says Mikhail Milk, Shimon Peres's granddaughter. Why? I mean, no. We're having a political argument about the nature of the regime here. What is separation of powers? Is it good? Is it bad? I mean, these are basic questions, all true, but the ground isn't burning, except that you're burning it, right? I mean, they put part of their protest was they put like thousands of Yortzeit candles on Ayalon Highway, which has just become like their mall, I guess. It's a major traffic artery, but who cares, right? People have to sit at home now so that they can have their theater. So thousands of Yortzeit candles, they lay on the highway. Where are the police? Why do they have to be there? I mean, clearly they're not doing anything, but whatever. So, they are burning the ground, right? They're lighting these candles. So, okay. But I mean, we have to recognize that this is, these have to be marginal voices. They can't be the voices of the middle, of the massive middle, like 95% of Israelis between two poles, because it isn't. I mean, the vast majority of Israelis, and I say this as somebody who is a committed, right-winger, Jewish nationalist, whatever you want, like that's me, right? But I mean, so what? What connects me to Zionists on the left is far greater than what divides me from them. And we all, the vast majority of us know it. And I asked Natan Sharansky to come today, not because he's a symbol, but because he doesn't agree with me on judicial reform. And he's written and he's spoken out, against what the government is trying to do. And I thought, yeah, we disagree on that, but the concept that that's what defines my relationship with Natan Sharansky, or how I look at Natan Sharansky, who is a Zionist hero, is a Jewish hero for the ages, is insane. And so, yeah, I wanted to talk to him. I wanted him to be the one to talk to us about this week, about Zionism, about Jewish peoplehood, about Jewish statehood, because he has something that we all have to know. And just as I'm not defined by one thing, neither is he. And this country is so many different things. And, am I pessimistic or optimistic about the future? I mean, we've had two Jewish states in the past, and they both died really at 75. And so a lot of people were looking at the 75th Independence Day with dread before any of this happened, just looking back at our history. And I think that we can guarantee that 75 will turn into 100, will turn into eternity, if we realize that, of course, there are different opinions. One of the midrashim, one of the Jewish folklore tales that maybe my favorite one. It was just by one rabbi wrote it, and he said that at the parting of the Red Sea, this is like a seminal moment in the forging of the Jewish nation, of maximum unity. Right? I mean, we're all with our backs to the Egyptian army, and in front of us is this raging sea, right? And then, boom, the sea divides and the dry land appears, and we walk across it to freedom, right? That's like, I mean, I guess a more seminal moment came later at Mount Sinai with the Ten Commandments, but still, I mean, this is huge. This is a huge thing. So the rabbi in the Midrash said that even at that moment, when the people of Israel and the children of Israel crossed the Red Sea, they crossed by tribe. They crossed in 12 lanes. It was like a 12-lane highway. And, Judah and Reuben and Levi, all of them were in their separate lanes because we are one people, but we celebrate our diversity. I mean, we have a lot of different views on things. And sometimes one lane is faster, and sometimes one lane is slower. But at the end of the day, we're all going to the same place. And I think, that our strength is found in those 12 lanes. And we're always going to be different, and we're always going to have different views. But we have one Jewish state, one homeland, and it's here in Israel. And I really do believe that the people taking aerial photographs and posting these really wretched ads on Facebook and on Twitter, posthumously converting all 24,000 fallen IDF soldiers to the cause, or people who, on the other hand, are angry and saying, we're going to rewrite history and we're going to blot out the contribution, which we're going to demonize, of the socialist Zionists who led the country at the outset. We're gonna take that all away. I think, that they are voices on the margins. They have to be marginalized if they're not, because we don't have any choice, and there really isn't any reason for us to go in that direction. So, I'm so thrilled, to be here in Israel and celebrating Yom Ha'atzmaut with my family, with my community, and with my people here in Israel. It was making Aliyah was a huge move when I was 21, and it was the right move, and I'm grateful that I did it. Grateful to myself and to God for pushing me in this direction. And I think that, a great future awaits us all together. And we just have to remember that the great unity of purpose and of destiny is really bigger than every disagreement that we share as we walk in our separate lanes together to our common future.